So you're telling me that now that George Pickens is a Dallas Cowboy, he's facing a curse from the Steelers? Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Mauricio Rodriguez here at A to Z Sports Dallas. Today, we are still talking George Pickens because how could we not? It is the biggest offseason move the Cowboys have made in so many years, and we're going to keep talking about it. And Adam Schefter from ESPN spiced things up this morning when he put out a tweet outlining the numbers from several notable Steelers wide receivers and their splits of yards per game before they left Pittsburgh versus after they left Pittsburgh. In the picture, Schefter pointed out that Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, Antonio Holmes, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, Martavis Bryant, and Chase Claypool all took a hit when it comes to average yards per game after leaving the Steelers. And obviously, this has people talking, but I'm here to tell you 3 reasons why Pickens should overcome the curse. Number 1 is overall, I think it's pretty misleading. I think there's a lot of context we need to look at before really interpreting what these numbers mean. One of the ways that I think it's misleading is Pickens is better and younger than many of the names on the list. Antonio Brown was about 30 years old when he left Pittsburgh. Mike Wallace, Deontay Johnson, Holmes, Juju, Martavis Bryant were all older when they left Pittsburgh compared to Pickens. Not to mention, in this case of Martavis Bryant and Antonio Brown, there was a bunch of other stuff going on that really impacted their negative play, including a season-long suspension for Martavis Bryant. And I would also argue Pickens' trajectory is just way different than compared to that of, say, Deontay Johnson, right? Who, when he left Pittsburgh, there were a lot of question marks surrounding him already. Pickens is a pretty good football receiver, right? And I use the word football because I know there's all of these character concern issues going on, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But Pickens is on the rise. He's in his 4th year in the NFL, and the best is yet to come for him. And speaking of missing context, Emmanuel Sanders was left off from the list for obvious reasons. Emmanuel Sanders, when he left Pittsburgh, he played some of his best football, including 3 1,000-yard seasons. The number 2 reason why Pickens is likely going to break this curse is he is upgrading at quarterback. While many of the receivers that we have talked about so far had big Ben Roethlisberger throwing the football for them, Pickens has played with Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. That is totally different from going into an offense that has Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb helping him out at the wide receiver position. Pickens is upgrading when it comes to his situation and the offense that he's a part of. Specifically, when you factor in what we've talked about Pickens being so good in go routes and Dak Prescott being great at those too. And last, but perhaps most importantly, is motivation is at an all-time high for someone like George Pickens. He is entering a contract year, and unlike some of those receivers that we've talked about, George Pickens is 1 season away from reaching that highest paid wide receiver territory. I'm not saying he's going to reset the market or anything like that, but with a strong season and in a year in which he might keep himself in check within the locker room and with behavior and all that, he could really skyrocket his value. That's why he doesn't want to be extended before the season, which the Cowboys are fine with, by the way, one of the most important aspects of this trade. So George Pickens is going to treat the 2025 NFL season as a prove-it year. And what does that mean? That the biggest knock on him, his behavior, his fighting, all of those problems that he causes, all of this means that Pickens is likely going to keep himself in check because so much money is on the line. He is much likely going to be well behaved with all of this, and I'm guessing this will help him really beat the Steelers curse that we're talking about here. In other words, as the kids say, it is time for Pickens to lock in, and that only helps the Cowboys. Let me know in the comments if you're putting any stock into this Steelers curse that people are talking about, because honestly, I don't think it will play a role in 2025, but I want to hear your thoughts.